Welcome to The Connection Code, the podcast that explores the relationships that make your life and work just a little bit better.
Hi, I'm Gillman Rischall. I lead a PR firm called 3PR focused on healthy food brands, but I am just as obsessed with making introductions and bringing people together.
And I'm Jeana Anderson Cohen. I started a company that tricks adults into making friends called A Sweat Life. And I'm also working on a social gathering and event space in New Buffalo, Michigan called Petite Acres. I'm obsessed with friendship and gathering.
So Jeana, we have been doing this thing where each episode is inspired. Each episode's big topic is inspired by our guest. And we are kicking off with a really special guest, Dr. Carlie Thompson. And based on what she's experiencing right now, I have kind of a more substantive, emotionally heavy question to run by you. Ready for this? Have you ever experienced something that initially felt emotionally devastating, but with some perspective and distance was actually beneficial?
The answer is yes. I thought about that. Thank goodness we prepare in advance. Because I think if you had said this to me, if you'd asked me this question, I'd be like, my God. The answer is yes. I think a lot of our hard stuff in life, we inevitably learn from. We wouldn't always wish to repeat it, but we learn from. But I think one example was in college, I had this boyfriend who I thought was like the end all be all. I was deeply surprised when he let me know that he had applied for, interviewed for, and gotten a job in San Francisco. And I was left out of the process. And I felt like I should have been included. But we were also, I was 20, he was 23, like who includes their whatever. But what ended up happening was that I took that as an opportunity to sort of say, fine, you get to go, I get to go. And I started looking at study abroad programs because I had studied Italian in college and I had enough of a baseline knowledge. I'd taken like 3 years of Italian at that point, or I was about to take my third year of Italian. So I had a baseline knowledge and enough of anger to start looking and enroll in sort of at the last minute for a study abroad program in Florence, Italy. And that was the best thing I did in college. And so I don't think I would have gone if we hadn't broken up, if I hadn't been sort of caught off guard by that. So I'm inevitably like very happy for that experience. What about you, Rachel?
I think it's a truism that hard experiences can be fuel, and that doesn't mean that going through it isn't really acutely painful. So
Absolutely.
I was mulling this over too, and the situation I went to was also medical, which will be Carlie's story as well. But I was always a very small kid. And at some point, it became clear to the doctors that it was abnormally small, and I wasn't growing, and I was stunted, and I had fallen off the growth chart. And so I went through this really intensive process in junior high where I saw an endocrinologist and I got diagnosed with growth deficient. So literally my pituitary gland was not secreting enough hormone. And so my body wasn't moving. And as we were just talking about how hard middle school is, as the twins are going through it, and you're at this really emotionally tumultuous age where you just want to fit in and you just kind of want to be in the middle. Physically, I just stood out so much. I looked so much younger than my peers. And I had a big personality and I wanted to be in the mix, but I really resembled everybody's kid sister. And so I got a diagnosis and I got a plan. And I'm very phobic about needles. And yet the only solution was to give myself a daily injection. So as you can imagine, I wanted to grow more than I was scared of doing the hard thing. And so every day for 2 years, I injected myself with growth hormone. I know, look at your face. It was really difficult. I had to have a travel pack. So if we went on an airplane or I went to camp, I brought my medicine with me. And so I did it from, I think, the end of 8th grade through the end of 10th grade. And just for context, when I started high school, I was 4'8" and about 65 pounds.
Oh my
And
God.
my bone age was that of an elementary schooler, like when they measured what your skeleton essentially looks like. So nobody wants to walk into high school and look like an elementary schooler. And so I had, fortunately, an amazing family and really good friends who saw me for who I was. And that was wonderful. But the internal angst was really overpowering. And the growth
Mm-hmm.
hormone worked. And I'm a whopping 5'2". And I gained weight and I filled out and all these things happened, but it was like the prototypical late bloomer. Everything for me was on a delay. And what I couldn't see then, but I see now, is that by not being the kid who fit in seamlessly, it forced me to develop other skill sets. And in the
Mm.
way that you're talking about pushing yourself to go to Florence, I was like, I'm not going to college with any of my friends. I really,
Mm-hmm.
really want to go somewhere where I have to start fresh and I kind of get the chance to have an identity that isn't quote unquote little Rachel. And I ended up
Oh.
really loving high school and having, again, really good friends and a great experience. But this sort of defined at least the first 2 years of high school. But it forced me and motivated me. And I did go away to school and I did really love that next chapter. And I wouldn't wish the experience on anybody. It's hard. And that was a time when, like, in the 90s, there were no like support groups. I didn't have a
Yeah.
therapist. I didn't have like anybody to talk to about it. So it was very angsty diary moments. But I do think it was formative. And I really think in the long haul, it shaped me for the best. And that is my TED talk on growth hormone.
Wow. Well, I have another friend who went through like a similar um stunted growth situation, and she had doctors who ended up like traumatizing her. So I think
Oh
like
no.
you well, it sounds like you had the right like family situation, the right medical team, like where it was really focused on you and making it the best situation possible for you. So it ended up being a positive too.
Yes, but I will tell you, looking back, there's nothing that makes you want to have more of a full body wince than having an adult male endocrinologist have to evaluate your whole body and then tell you on a scale if you're approaching puberty or not. I mean, I felt
Oh,
like a specimen and it wasn't his fault, but I think medicine back then was different and a
yeah.
little bedside manner stuff might have been lacking. So like a deep self-consciousness was very much the defining theme of that period. And I
Mm,
also feel for your friend. That's really disappointing.
yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
actually, I'm realizing ironically, so our guest Carlie that we're going to go into, we know, or I know Carlie, now you do too, because her husband Ryan has been a friend of mine since junior high. And so Ryan has known me throughout this whole process too, and was very like big brother and protective.
Mm.
And I think that was kind of the dynamic, is everybody treated me as if they needed to baby me and protect me a little bit because I looked so young and small. And then part of my quest was to be like, you guys, like I grew up. Let me be as I am now. And I think everybody had to do a little bit of mental shifting to embrace a next stage.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because it's you, everybody is self conscious at that age. But if you add any sort of standing out, like anything that makes you feel different, just amp it up.
And what I've also gained from maturity and years since is you're right, it can be anything. Are you the tallest? Are you the shortest? Are you the heaviest? Are you the skinniest? Did you develop early? Are you the last to develop? I mean, anything that draws attention to you in a way that you wouldn't choose is a hard thing to navigate.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama, who we
Um,
love deeply, talks about how she hit her full height so early. And that's not a fun feeling either.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, Sarah Spain talks about being like over
Yes.
6 foot. Um, oh my gosh. It was so interesting to hear you two share your stories when we were on that retreat, pretty much back to back. And just think about like how similar but different it was.
Yeah. Any end of the spectrum, I think, is pretty defining
Yeah.
during your adolescent years. And then Sarah
Yeah.
turned out beautifully.
And so did you. And so did
Some
you.
days.
Yeah. And so, oh my God. Well, Rachel, I'm so glad you brought Carlie to the podcast. She is such a breeze, such a light. talk about kind of why you wanted to have her as a guest, as our first guest for season 2.
Yes, this was actually even really kismet timing, but I don't want to spoil what Carlie's going to talk about, but I will set up why she's so incredible. So I'm going to read this. She is a board certified and fellowship trained breast surgical oncologist and associate professor of surgery at UCLA Health. So Carlie has amassed more than a decade of experience performing scientific and medical research, and she's won several awards for her work. She sounds like such a grown-up, which she is, but she's also the warmest and nicest and sweetest and just a wonderful human who went through a really, you can't make this up, life plot twist. And I think that has set her on this new course. And being that you and I are really interested in the human experience and connection and growth and evolution, Carlie felt like a perfect discussion to begin season 2. So let's bring on Carlie. Hi, Carlie.
Hi. Hello.
Thank you so much for, in a very serendipitous way, joining us today. We're really excited to have you.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, because it's a podcast about connection, I always love to draw a dotted line between how the guest ended up on the pod. And in this instance, your husband, Ryan, has been my friend since 7th grade. So I've seen him through many iterations. And when you came into his life, I was like, Ryan got this so right. And I was thrilled because I inherited you as a friend. And for that, I'm very grateful.
Yeah, same. You, Rachel, have interwoven through both of our lives as individuals and as a couple many, many times. So we're grateful for you, and I'm excited to be doing this with you.
Yes. Well, we just caught up, and I was saying that you've lived a lot of life recently and gone through quite a bit of significant change. And so I thought it might be better for you to explain where you're sitting today.
Yeah, I'm going through what I imagine will be probably my biggest life transition. I am a breast cancer surgeon, and I work at a very, very high caliber academic institution where I have a thriving clinical practice treating breast cancer patients and doing breast cancer research, and have really wholeheartedly committed my life to my career path. I also have a wonderful husband, Ryan, that you've mentioned. I have 2 beautiful children, 11 and 6. And, life has always felt very blessed. But in the last probably 10 years or so has felt very, very challenging at times. But we were just kind of grinding, going, and kind of getting lost in the grind, losing a lot of perspective along the way. And my husband started to experience some health issues a couple of years ago, which really started to make everything feel quite a bit heavier. And then I myself was diagnosed with breast cancer just a couple of months ago. I just had my hopefully final surgery actually a few days ago. So life came to, it had been, and not even in retrospect, we kind of felt the unraveling happening as it was happening, but life came to a very abrupt halt for us the day I received my diagnosis. And I have taken an extended leave from my clinical practice, and I've gone through treatment, and we've pulled our kids out of school. I'm homeschooling them, which honestly could be a whole podcast in and of itself. And we're going to start traveling the world and doing a full and complete reset. So we are currently in Ojai, California, which is the most beautiful, magical place. while I recover from the surgery. And then after the holidays, spending some good quality time with family back in the Midwest, we're going to launch and we're going to start traveling internationally. And we'll start in Bali for a few months and go from there. But there are many layers to the lessons, and just the things to potentially talk about, and what the turns my life has taken over the last decade for sure, but within the last 2 years and then 6 months, it's all been pretty major.
Wow. So Carlie, you and I just met before we started this conversation, and I'm so grateful to have met you. And just in that brief introduction of what you've been going through, what I'm hearing is, and you tell me if this is what really is going on, a shifting in priorities and this sort of like grabbing a hold of the people you love and sort of saying like, we don't know what kind of time we have on this planet. Like, let's enjoy every second of it. Is that kind of what went through your head when you made this shift?
Oh gosh. I mean, it's so complex. It really has so many layers. I think that at the highest level, what I have been experiencing, I'm going to start with what I've been experiencing as an individual, right? Because there's the perspective of the individual. There's the perspective of the wife, the mother, the surgeon, as an individual, I think what this transition has symbolized for me is I really think, and I think many, many, many women our age in particular can empathize. I feel like I very much lost myself over the last decade. My son is 11, and so I think that I really I just lost I lost touch with my spiritual side. I got out of alignment with who I was and what was really, really important to me. And I just started, instead of living life leaning in, I was living life on my heels, just reacting to all the things that are constantly coming at you as a very, very busy professional, a wife to a husband who has his own health issues, and a mother to 2 children. My son also has some health issues that he deals with. I just had completely lost myself. I was like, I'd completely run out of steam, and the day I got my diagnosis, I felt like it was God, the universe, whatever, you identify with, just handing me a message saying, this is your golden ticket. This is your chance to really wake up and realign. And so that's what I felt as an individual, as a wife and a mother, 100%, Jeana. It was like all I was seeing in those relationships, not all I was seeing, but a lot of what I was seeing in those relationships was the stress of it all, the day-to-day grind, the like, doing the wife stuff, doing the mother stuff, like checking all those boxes. And it was like, wow, I'm missing so much of the depth and the richness of these relationships. So absolutely, it was a wake up call to kind of get back in the moment. And so, yes. And professionally, it was, I have always put my whole heart into what I do. I love what I do. The fact that I get to, connect with women in such a difficult and vulnerable time in their lives, and I actually get to like make a difference and help them and like cure them of cancer. Like it's the best job on the planet, frankly. But I had gotten I was just like, I was so in it and I was so in the routine, and it was the same thing I'd experienced with my relationships. It was like, I got to a point where I was just checking boxes because life was just throwing so much at me. So I think it was just this like wake up call, like, whoa, You're 41. I was diagnosed when I was 41. You're 41 and you could do this for the rest of your life. And you'd look back on your life and it's like, wait, where did the real depth and meaning go? So I think it was lots of layers of kind of waking up.
So, Carlie, I often joke that I send emails for a living and you're literally saving people's lives. So, I just want to applaud you, by the way, for doing the most to help humanity. And I hope you don't mind this phrasing, but there is almost a poetic irony in the breast cancer surgeon getting her very first mammogram only to learn that she has breast cancer. And while I think for most people this would be a devastating hard stop, you are miraculously seeing it as a refresh and a catalyst and a silver lining that I could not even wrap my head around. I'm truly so impressed by it. But how do you think you're able to do that, to use it as a launching pad instead of something that is sending you into a bit of a depression?
I think that I have a bit of an unfair perspective on all of this. And I think it's something that as I move forward, I'm just getting into the shoes and the role of having a bigger platform and sharing messages with a larger audience around all of this. And so I really want to be sensitive to the fact that breast cancer diagnosis is incredibly scary. There just is really no way, even for me, that you get through something like that without doing some sort of full stop assessment of where your life is as it stands, what you feel like you've done right, what you feel like you've done wrong. I've experienced all of that. Even as a breast cancer surgeon who knows the ins and outs of this disease and treatment better than anybody else, I've still gone through that same process. Where I am lucky is that I know the disease so well. I know the treatment so well. I know how positive the prognosis is. My cancer was caught very early, and thank God. There was just a lot of it. So I still had to have a major surgery and have both of my breasts removed and reconstructed in order to treat it. But I know that I am very most likely going to live a long, healthy, happy life. Okay. And so I get to, from that, fortunate perspective, I get to use this as a wake up call and to see it as a blessing. But the beautiful thing about a breast cancer diagnosis, and I really think many cancer diagnoses, is that it does transmutate over time into, many women do see it as, or many individuals do see it as a blessing, as a moment to kind of wake up and see life differently. So I think that it's just, my kind of knowledge base around it and understanding that I'm going to be okay. And that this really was, I think, probably the most effective way that the universe could shake me and I could wake up and be like, okay, let's do things differently. Let's try something else. And what it's become for me is, I just feel a fire inside of me to share a bigger message about what true wellness looks like. And it's not just the physical. It's so much more than that. It's mental, it's emotional. And I think really, almost most importantly, it's spiritual. And so I just think that there's a much bigger message that I'm feeling really impassioned to share through all of this. But
wow. I think on the Connection Code, we care a lot about the people who kind of surround us and hold us through things like what you're going through. So I'm really curious, kind of what sort of people showed up for you during this time, and how did you ask for help?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think that many, I think you guys can probably relate, like as a high functioning woman, we're like, that's not our first instinct to ask for help, you know? Um, I think though, what has blown me away throughout this process is the authentic love and support that has come without me asking. And which
Mm.
is just so helpful because I think my brain doesn't even go to like asking for help. It's just not, and but it's come through. I mean, I have received talk about like human connection. I think one of the reasons I feel like this opportunity to do this podcast with you guys is just so incredibly timely is because I have been so impressed. I just started sharing my story on social media, which historically I've not been a big social media person. And so to even start sharing felt scary, right? And
Mhm.
but I have had people, thousands of people reach out to me from every phase of my life. My like childhood babysitter who was like a second mother. I have elementary school teachers. I had my AP English teacher who's like my favorite teacher of all time. Have, you know, friends from every phase of life, colleagues from every phase of life reaching out with like authentic love and support and um the energy and the light that has brought into my life has been it's been the best the best therapy, the best treatment in everything that I've gone through. And so I think it's just it just shows like how important the human connection element is in this life that we're all living and just how it's kind of the foundation of everything.
Okay, Carlie,
May I
you were
ask a
worried about
double
crying,
question?
and now
Oh
I'm
yeah,
crying.
I know. I was like, I'll ask another question so Rachel can
Yeah.
cry.
Ah,
Um,
Gina, I was
I know.
listening to
I
your
know.
podcast with Carla, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She's a phenomenal person, and the whole podcast was really, really remarkable, special. And but Gina, I
Thank
loved
you.
how you were like, so I sense Rachel getting emotional, so I'm gonna ask another question. You guys have like this, which is
A
great,
little bit
which
of
is great.
shorthand at this point. I know we don't always get to catch up between podcast, like recordings. So I also feel like Rachel and I are just like reading each other's minds during it.
Yes.
But I'll just
Yeah.
quickly ask you, Carlie, while Rachel is, um, what prompted you to hit share on that first social media post? Like what was it that was like, you know what, it's time. I need to get this out there. And what did it feel like
Yeah.
to hit post?
Oh gosh, I feel like in today's world where like maybe our generation, but I really think it starts with the generation that comes right after us, that people are just so comfortable with social media. So it feels like if you're in your head about social media, it just feels it just feels kind of like out of the loop, out of touch with just the world today. But the fact of the matter is, just to make myself very vulnerable, I have felt compelled to reach a broader audience with, in the way that I can help women in particular. My target audience is really midlife women, is who I really feel like I can help the most. I have felt called to helping midlife women on a larger scale for a long time, and I've had many patients, and I practice in Los Angeles, so and I treat a lot of people who are in the entertainment industry, and I've had many people, hey, you should really, do a podcast, or you should start creating content, whatever. And it's like, yeah, totally. And I've always I've had this, it's always been in there that I've felt compelled to do that, but I've been scared. I've been scared.
Mm-hmm.
And I when I got the diagnosis, and then October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So that's really what did it, because my cancer was caught on a screening mammogram. And so it's like, our main tagline in breast cancer is early detection saves lives. And I was like a living example of this. And it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And it's like, I have zero excuses now. I have zero excuses. Like if I can post my story on my Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and a friend from high school sees it and is like, oh, well, I guess I'm 40. I'm 42. I'm 45. I need to get a mammogram. And it finds a cancer. Like, whoa, job done, So like, I felt like I just I couldn't have any more fear-based excuses. So I just did it the only way that I know how. And I just held the camera in front of my face and I just went in heart first and said, this is what I'm going through. And it was caught on a mammogram. And like, this is the time, ladies. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So this is the time to do it. So, and it felt I was so peaceful hitting send and share. And then just I got an overwhelming response, like thousands and thousands of views and hundreds of comments. And I posted a couple of days later just saying, thank you. And, I'm going to start my professional account, which is something I've been wanting to do for years. And I haven't had the guts to do it, and I'm going to do it. And, the support I have received, like it has all felt, but this is one of the things that I just am really kind of starting to groove with in the last couple of months. Like if the outer is aligned with the inner, it's all going to flow. It's going to flow. It's going to feel right. You're not going to get stuck in your head about it. So it was like the years leading up to the post, Jeana, where I was scared. But once I actually did it, it was like, this is exactly what needs to be happening right now.
Oh, Carlie, I am so proud of you. And yes, get emotional easily. But in this instance, I think that I've known you maybe almost 15 years at this point. And we've gone through a lot of milestones together, and we have kids the same age. And I think when Ryan told me about the breast cancer, like it just threw me so deeply, and I was feeling immensely for you both. And you're handling it with such grace and such poise. But as you're talking about all these people in all facets of your life showing up for you, what really struck me on like a heart level is I hate that it takes bad news to know how rich and deep your community is. I've always wished that you could feel the amount of love and support in your life when things are great. You know what I mean? I'm so happy that the upside of you having to share something really dark and difficult is that you were able to bask in thousands of people lifting you up and supporting you. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And you're obviously such a wonderful person that, of course, you have this vast and beautiful community. Oh, just a lot there. I wrote myself a note because one of the other things we talked about is that you've lived through a lot of plot twists. And so if you were having like a cinematic life, there's the fact, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were Miss Teen America. You have a killer story about how you ended up in medicine. Ryan's proposal to you, which I told him was a terrible idea, not the proposal itself, the manner in which he did it, went globally viral. And you ended up on Ellen DeGeneres' couch for a live interview because it was such a crazy proposal. And then now you're about to step forward into like your next purpose.
Rischall, by the way. Yeah.
Well, totally. we did some media prep for your interview. So in like a Forrest Gump way, like take us through a little bit of this journey, and especially please touch on how you ended up becoming a surgeon in the first place.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So you know what? I'm a super small town girl from Indiana. And I actually just did another post yesterday. Because I just had a surgery a few days ago, and yesterday I'm in Ojai. This place is magical, and I was really feeling okay. I got to get up and I got to move my body somehow to just, movement is medicine totally for me, and I just need to move a little bit. And I was like trying to put some loose clothes on to maybe do some stretching. And I had the windows open, and I hear the birds chirping, and it's so like pleasant. And then I hear these cows start to moo. And I was like, oh my gosh, like the healing sound for a girl from Indiana who like grew up. I didn't grow up on a farm, but both sides of my family were farmers, and I was around. I mean, that sound is so healing. But so I'm a small town girl, like through and through. And I got it. The pageant thing was, something that my mom and I just did for fun. I had a friend who, nominated me to do the, Miss Teen Indiana pageant, and my mom and I mean, we had no idea what we were doing. Right. But we went, and, the first year I got, I think, third runner up, I don't remember. And we were like, whoa, that was really fun. And then the next year I won Miss Indiana, I won Miss Teen America. And it was like this just amazing experience. And, but especially for a small town girl from Indiana, and then, the medical school thing was really interesting. I always knew I didn't have a lot of exposure to the healthcare field. My grandma was a nurse, and I would go to work with her. She worked in a nursing home, and I loved that. I mean, I would go with her, and I would just hang out with the residents in the nursing home, and it was the time of my life. But that was really the only exposure I had to medicine. But I've always felt what drives me is human connection. It truly is. It always has been. So I knew that I wanted to do something where I could really connect with people and hopefully help them. And so I thought that was going to be like psychology, therapy, something like that. And then my mom and I were on a trip together, and my mom's a runner, and she was on a run, and we were in a big city, and she was on this run, and she literally runs into this homeless gentleman who had wounds all over his body and had like bandages that were literally like falling off of him. And he grabbed her, and she was obviously scared, but he grabbed her, and he said, you have to help me. You have to help me. And my mom was saying, I don't know how to help you. I don't know how to help you. And he was like, he said to her, get your daughter. She's going to be a healer. And my mom came back to the hotel room, and she was like, totally like in a daze. And she was like, I think you're supposed to be a healer. I think you're supposed to be a doctor. And then it changed my whole trajectory. And so I went to, wow. I went to undergrad at Indiana University, go Hoosiers. And then went to medical school at Washington University in St. Louis, which at the time was like the third best medical school in the country. It was just an amazing place to get a medical education. And I graduated top 5 in my class. And I just like, I was in such a flow state in that environment, and I started my surgical training at Northwestern in Chicago. And that's where I met Ryan, my husband. And that's where the real plot twists start, because he is, Rachel knows, he is
the least boring person.
Yeah, he is main character energy, like full on, like his life is a movie, and he just pulled me into it like full steam. But so yeah, it's been really exciting. And honestly, I think it's only going to get more exciting from here on out, because we're going to start to travel, and I think we're going to document it and start to create some content around like this crazy adventure we're about to go on, like homeschooling and living internationally. And so I think it is, I think it's going to get crazier and even more fun here in the near future.
Okay. One quick thing. The homeless man didn't know that did your mom say I had a daughter or I have a daughter? Or did he just bring that up?
No. It was honestly, I don't know that the homeless man it's to this day. I'm not convinced the homeless man actually existed. I don't know if it was like just a total like God moment for my mom, honestly.
Yes.
Right. Because it was such a surreal situation and story. But no, that he did not. I mean, she hadn't said anything, wow. But real or imagined, he definitely changed my life. So,
yeah.
Yes. And Jeana, for a quick aside on Ryan, I'm from Minnesota,
Please.
as are you. And in
Yes.
7th grade, a new boy came to our junior high named Ryan, all the way from Hawaii. And nobody could wrap their head
Wow.
around a blonde surfer from Hawaii landing at our Minnesota junior high. And
How did
that
you
was the
get
beginning
here?
of our friendship. Yes, yes. Well, they call him Hawaiian
Oh.
Ryan until we graduated high school.
No one calls him that anymore. That would make me really sad.
No, so he's
Rachel, you
he's
should bring it back.
outgrown it.
He's an airline pilot, and so now he occasionally will get an entrepreneur, but he will occasionally get Fly-In Ryan. So, there have been some iterations on the titles, but yeah, I mean, Rachel and Ryan they go way back. They are an unlikely duo, but man, do they love
Yes.
each other. And Ryan keeps going back to home base with Rachel, like time and time again, when he really needs to ground and recenter and things are getting hard. And it's like Rachel's the one that we go back to. So she's been with us through a lot.
Carlie,
Oh,
you
wow.
are the singular best decision Ryan has ever made. And I can say that with a lot of years of witnessing Ryan's decisions.
Oh, that's so sweet. We have blessed each other in immense ways.
Did we, by the way, make note of the fact that the proposal went viral because Ryan faked an airplane emergency? Well,
Oh, we didn't. I skipped over that part.
we
Oh
did
my
it.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for the listener at home,
Yes.
go ahead, Carlie.
Yeah. So
We'll link to this in the show notes,
so it was winter time. It was, because it was February and it was still very cold in Chicago. We were in Chicago, and he surprised me for Valentine's Day by taking me up in this beautiful little general aviation aircraft. It's called a Diamond Star or something like that. And
How appropriate.
right. And it was beautiful. I mean, we were over Lake Michigan, and we were just going up and down the coast and taking pictures, and it was this really magical moment. And but at a point, I see him out of the corner of my eye start to kind of more urgently like mess with some of the instruments and the plane, and then all of a sudden I feel my stomach go up into my chest, and all I'm seeing is water. All I saw out of the whole front window of the aircraft was Lake Michigan. And I look over at him, and he's like, what did he say? The instruments aren't responding. I need you to read this checklist. And he hands me this laminated checklist, which we'd flown in GA aircraft a couple of times, and I would do the checklist for him sometimes, the takeoff checklist, the landing checklist, whatever. And so I'm reading this checklist like my life depended on it, because it really in that moment felt like it did. And at the end of the checklist, it said, the pilot in command says, or something about a ring engagement procedure, and the pilot in command says, "Will you marry me?" And yeah, it was the most emotional kind of like whiplash I've experienced in one moment, but it was pretty awesome. And he had captured it on, this was 2012, but he had a GoPro. This is like early in the days of GoPro. And he had a GoPro mounted in the front of the aircraft, and had told me that it was a TCAS, a traffic collision avoidance system, something like whatever. And so he got everything, on video. And one of this is the kind of ties in a little more kind of human connection here that is just so beautiful. One of his good friends from childhood, his name's Derek. It was a videographer and editor. And so he just gave him all the footage, and he was like, "Hey, we want to put a video together to send it to our family." And so Derek put this awesome video together, and we posted it on YouTube and sent the link to our family. And literally a day later, the video had like 25,000 views. This was in 2013 when we posted it. So this is like early in the days of the whole viral video phenomenon. And I was like, man, grandma has been really watching that video. Like, why? Like, who is watching this video? It's got 25,000 views. 3 days after it was posted, Ellen's production team reached out to us. So the video went like wildly
Oh my
viral
God.
very quickly. We had no idea what we were doing. I mean, it wasn't like that was like a thing that happened. I had camera crews, Inside Edition camera crew came to Northwestern Hospital and was like out on the sidewalk. And I was like in my scrubs, you know? And so it was a total trip, but Derek, love him so much. He's actually here with us right now because he's editing some other content that we've gotten. So he's here in Ojai with us at the moment. But yeah, that was a real trip. That was a lot of fun.
Carlie, Ryan did vet this idea by me ahead of time. And I said in no uncertain terms, this is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
You can't have a life or death emergency segue into will you marry me? And he listened politely,
So
obviously
Ryan,
ignored my feedback, did it anyways. So Ryan, I mean,
it's
but
so
it feels
Ryan.
like a great indicator of the life that was going to await you. You know what I mean? He lives big and he lives spontaneous
Oh my
and he
gosh,
lives
man,
on the
has he
edge.
told me that
And
so
you,
many
I think, are such
times.
a balancer.
I am the steady one. I'm here. I stay
Yes.
here,
Yeah.
and Ryan just like
String.
does this around me, you know. But we've had
We call it the
many
balloon and the
moments.
string. Yes.
The balloon and the string. Oh, I love that. But we've had many moments where he's like, you knew what you were getting yourself into. And it's like, yeah, but when you're in love and like, you know, it's like that fresh love and you're not thinking about like how this is going to translate when you have 2 kids and life is crazy. But yeah, no, he's wild. He's wild and a lot of fun, but he's wild.
My favorite part of that video, Rachel shared it with me today, was at the start of it in this emergency, air quotes for the listener. He said, honey, I'm going to need you to stay calm. And then hands you the book to read through, which is why when you got on, I was like, I know you can stay calm.
No, yeah,
you really
I
did
do.
stay calm.
Oh yeah, I can. I've got that down. That's one of my strengths. I will have to say it makes me a good wife for Ryan. It makes me a good mother for my son, who's like a Ryan Jr. And it makes me a good doctor. I can stay pretty steady if I need to. Yeah.
So Carlie, let's manifest your next chapter because as you said, this diagnosis feels like the beginning of a new era. And you have this feeling like of a calling and a real motivation to help other women. So what's the dream as you go to Bali and you figure out how you guys want to live moving forward?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up and pushing into that space, Rachel, because it's, you know, my dream right now, I feel like there is so much on the plate of midlife women. I feel like there are so many challenges, beautiful challenges that midlife women face, whether it be with their own spirit and their own health, whether it be with a child, an aging parent, things happening at work, just the like beautiful chaos of making it all happen. And then I think one thing that I feel very strongly about talking about is the physiologic, hormonal, that then translates into emotional, mental, spiritual changes that are happening in our bodies while we're trying to cope with all of this. And I really just want to create a safe space for women to talk about these things, to be educated about these things, to explore these changes and all the feelings that they're having. And so my vision is, you know, I really want to start by the obvious start for me is to start with educating around breast cancer and breast health. And there's a lot to talk about there. And I, you know, when I shared my story in that very first post, you know, the call out to the the audience, the people watching, was, hey, if you have questions about your breasts or your, anything about your health, your body, like DM me, let me know. Like if I don't know the answer, I'll figure it out. And I've got a whole huge, amazing, talented network of expert people that can help us figure this stuff out. So, DM me, let me know. And so I got a handful of really good questions that I'm going to start with. And so start with breast cancer education. And then I really want that to expand into women's health in general. And what does it mean to truly be well? Like, what are the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of truly being well? And let's explore that together. And I'm going to be traveling the world, and I'm going to be, doing the yoga retreats in Bali and sharing, hopefully sharing the insights and the energy from that. I'm going to be, hopefully doing meditation retreats in India and like sharing the contribution that a spiritual practice can make to your physical health, to your overall health. So I really just, the end goal, Rachel and Jeana, is just to share. I have so much light and love inside, and I really want to share that with women, specifically women, in this season of life, to help them find themselves, recenter, ground, like find that wellness within themselves. So that's really the vision. I am definitely in a place right now, to make myself vulnerable again, where the very next steps are like just starting to come into focus. But I really just want to, I want to share love and light. That's the goal.
It's interesting, Carlie, as I'm listening, don't worry, always listening. But I also, my mind was starting to because I turn 40 next month. And in my head, I'm like, shit, is it time for me to get a mammogram? Which doctor do I go to? Do I go to my OB-GYN? I sort of was having this internal monologue of like, who do I go to? So for our listeners, can you give us that quick primer on when and who to see?
Yes. Okay. So there are a few different sets of guidelines put out by major medical societies around when and how often women should be screened for breast cancer, like when they should start and how often they should get screened for breast cancer. Really, if you are an average risk woman, meaning that you have no known, really the biggest risk factor that's easy for women to be aware of is their family history. Okay. If you have no known like family history of breast cancer in a mother or aunt or grandmother, and as far as you're at average risk of developing breast cancer, then you can really start breast cancer screening anytime between like 40 to 45. The societies are really all kind of edging more towards 40 now. And you can go most of the societies recommend getting mammograms every year. You can go every other year, but that's the general guideline, is that you should at least, once you hit 40, you should probably be talking to your doctor about it. And the doctor you're going to talk to, Jeana, is whoever is running your kind of overall kind of general primary care. And for women our age, that's usually a primary care doctor or internal medicine doctor or an OB/GYN. And so those two categories of doctors are well equipped to order mammograms. And then they're the ones that kind of will follow up the results and kind of order any follow-up tests. And But so, if you're turning 40, then it's time to at least start thinking about it. And it's also time to, the other plug is that it's time to start, asking questions of your family members. Like, what does run in our family? That's the most powerful crystal ball that we have in medicine. And we don't have many sophisticated crystal balls, but that's one that we do have. And it's just looking at the things that are running and the conditions that are running in your family. And so, it's, and for some people, Ashkenazi Jewish individuals in particular, like it's very important to know what runs in your family and if you might qualify for genetic testing. I mean, that's another huge piece of valuable information that we can get. But yeah, women, when they hit 40, that's when we really kind of need to start thinking about all of this stuff. Mm-hmm.
Jeana, I go every 6 months. I'm getting extra screened. Fun times.
So, mammograms form the foundation of breast cancer screening. So that's what I get the most questions about is like, well, I've heard that you can get ultrasounds for breast cancer screening and MRIs for breast cancer screening. And so I think I'm going to skip the mammogram because, the compression and the radiation but for better or worse, mammograms do form the foundation of breast cancer screening. So we really, we can't get away from mammograms, but we will in certain women who have particularly dense breast tissue or who are known to be at high risk of developing breast cancer. We will add imaging tests, like it sounds like you're getting, Rachel. Like we'll add breast ultrasounds for our highest risk women. We'll add breast MRIs, but we usually start with the mammogram.
Tell me you're a nervous Jewish woman that you want to go twice a year to make sure everything's okay. But yes, I am all about proactive health. Jeana, welcome to your 40s. And Carlie, you are now our unofficial breast health expert at the Connection Code.
Oh, I got you. I got you, ladies. Big time.
Amazing. Do you want to have a connection conversation with us?
Yes, I would love to.
Jeana, did I accidentally cut off one more question? I felt like there was one
No,
percolating.
that's okay. I could ask a million questions, but we've had Carlie on the line for quite some time now. So I think it is perfect timing for a connection conversation. First and foremost, Carlie, tell us about the last connection you made.
Yeah, so Rachel, graciously sent me these questions ahead of time, and I ran through like a whole list of people that I feel like honestly, I've had more beautiful, authentic human connection in my life over the last couple of weeks than I have in the last decade combined. So it was a little hard to narrow it down on this one, but I think the most meaningful human connection that I have had recently was last night. We're in Ojai. We're staying at this beautiful home that is, I won't go into too much information about that because I don't know if the owner of the home is comfortable with that, but it's kind of up above the Ojai Valley, and there are these little like landings that have chairs out, and it was nighttime, so you could see all the stars, and it was so beautiful. And I was sitting out there with just my 11-year-old son, and we talked for an hour and a half, and it was the best conversation that I've ever had with him. And it was so, it was so eye-opening to like listen to him talk and to see how his brain works and to hear the questions that he had about, we were talking about all kinds of like really meaningful, deep stuff. And so that was of all the beautiful human connection I've had recently. I think that was one of the more meaningful ones for me.
To get a middle school boy to talk for 90 minutes about deep subject matter is nothing short of a miracle. That's a very special connection.
Like Ryan. He's just like Ryan. And
you did give birth to a version of Ryan. Yes.
100%. But he's very curious. He's very deep for a little 11-year-old. And, it was a wonderful conversation. Yeah, it was great.
So glad. Okay. If you could give advice to your younger self about connection, what would you say?
I would say keep freaking going for it. Do it exactly as you feel called to do it. I have always been such a heart forward person. And I, as I've gone through these last couple of weeks, and I've had people reach out to me that I haven't been in contact with for years. And the way that they are pouring love onto me, it's like I did something right in the way that I carried myself through life. And a huge part of that, if not like the majority of that, I think was just always connecting with people authentically, heart first. And I would encourage my younger self to just keep doing that. When you live life with your heart exposed, there's a lot of opportunity for damage, injury, and I experienced that. I experienced a lot of that. I'm a sensitive person that always had my tender heart on my sleeve. And so I definitely experienced my times with feeling like I wanted to close off and no, I need to just save more of this for myself and my family. And I would say to that younger version of myself, you keep doing it, girl, exactly as you feel called to do it, because it's going to pay off for you in dividends.
I love that. It sounds like you've had a lot of lovely connections. I would love to find out if there's anyone in the world who you would like to be connected with, a dream connection, who you're not already in contact with.
Oh gosh, there's so many. There are so many. I want to look up the name. I want to not screw up the name of this author. Let me just get it right. Okay. Most of the people I feel really drawn to are kind of spiritual leaders in some way, like Eckhart Tolle. I mean, if I could just, I don't know, live with him for the rest of my life and just listen to all the wonderful things that come out of his mouth, I would. But I am reading a book that is changing my life. It is the most beautifully and profoundly written book that I've ever, and the audience is going to be like, oh yeah, well, duh, everybody knows about that book. But Women Who Run with the Wolves. Have you guys heard of this book?
No.
Women Who Run
but
with
now
the
I'm
Wolves.
gonna
Rachel and
download
I
it.
both like, yeah, I know. I'm like, opens Goodreads.
Oh, no. You guys, it is
Paper copy.
Mm-hmm.
It is about reconnecting with your wild woman, and not wild in a sense of like out of control, messy chaos wild. It's like ancient natural wisdom wild. The author of the book is Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and she is a magician with words. It's a beautiful book. So I would say if I could get some time with her to just like really, really gain some of her wisdom, I would take that.
Okay. Let's put that one out there. Maybe it's achievable.
Yeah.
We need to book club about this later.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she's still alive. So that would, because the book I think was published in the 1990s, 94, 95 maybe, but yeah.
Carlie, I just want to thank you.
I know it's been wonderful just chatting with you and hearing your perspective through one of the hardest things a lot of people go through. So thank you so much for, even just given how recent all of this is, being open to share with us and use your experience as a resource.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, I don't think that any of us get to the age of 41 and, completely unscathed. But I feel compelled to put my beautiful pain and suffering out there in a way that is hopefully helpful to people and that will encourage people to do the same and to kind of grow through all of that. But thank you guys for having me. This was fun and I knew that it would be. And thank you so much. I love what you guys are doing here and you're so good at it and your guests have been amazing. So like, I want to just feed energy into this, what you guys are doing. I think it's a really great thing.
Well, likewise. And where should people find you as you start to post and share your journey? Where do you want people to follow along?
Yes, at Dr. Carlie Thompson.
And that's Carlie for those who really want to get the spelling just right.
CarlieThompson. And that's primarily right now on Instagram and Facebook with the next phase of TikTok. So yeah, I would love to see anybody on there. My DMs are always open.
Oh, Carlie.
Thank you so much, Carlie.
Thank you. We truly appreciate you, especially how recent this is. So thank you.
I am beside myself, Rischall. Carlie was so lovely. Thank you for bringing her to the podcast.
I am so happy this worked out. And I think what I just have not even absorbed fully is being a couple days out from a final breast cancer surgery and having the ability to sit down and have a conversation of that depth and that intensity. She is a uniquely special person. Yeah.
Also, the foresight to sort of say, this is the time to stop, pick my family up, like create both this cocoon of family and this discomfort of world travel. Like, I just think it's going to be such a great experience for that whole family.
Yes. I didn't spend too much time on it, but the homeschooling thing is blowing my mind because I could barely get through COVID remote schooling. So she's incredible. And I don't know. I love watching people take big, bold risks. Yeah. And I don't always think it's in my nature, but I get such a vicarious thrill from observing it. And so I'm very excited for Carlie and Ryan's family to embark on this chapter.
It's interesting because we've now have had two guests pick their families up and do this sort of, I don't know, like walkabout for a year as a family. And it makes me think that maybe I could do it.
Jeana, I believe you could. I could not even get through one game of Connect 4 with Shira last night without somebody melting down. So I'm like, I don't think we have the capacity to leave the country together.
Well, only time will tell. Carla told a story of her son. I don't know. Also, you'd have to want to. Rischall, should we do show and tell?
Let's do a show and tell.
You go first. Tell me your show and tell. What'd you bring today? And show and tell, by the way, for the listener at season 2, if you're just joining us for the first time, even if you've heard this before, is when Rischall and I bring things that we think the other will enjoy from the connection space to share with each other. Okay, back to you, Rischall.
Yes. And the backstory is so much of our friendship, which I adore, is us just sending links back and forth. No context, just links. And I feel like we build our show and tell off of that. I can't remember if I sent you this one, but it was an article, I think in a publication called Dazed, which I was not familiar with. But the premise is friendship now just scheduling time to catch up? And I was like, wait a minute. Are they in my life? Yeah. And as I was reading it, I was like, fuck, this is what's happening, where you're not making new memories or doing things that create fun. You are setting aside time to sit down with each other and each take turns reciting what's going on, which I'm guilty of. So I'd be like, Jeana, what's going on with Petite Acres? And you would say, Rischall, what's going on with your clients? And then I would say, how's Justin's back doing? And you would tell me, and you'd say, how are the girls doing in middle school? And I would start crying. And we would just be trading updates back and forth. And then we'd get caught up. And then 6 to 8 weeks would go by and we'd get together again and we'd sit down and we'd say, let's catch up. It was really like a gut punch. I'm like, where is the fun? Where's the part of friendship where you just do things together and then you enjoy and you laugh? Activities. So I need to send you the article.
Yep.
And then think about how much of the time I invest in my friendship is literally just trading updates, like a synopsis.
I honestly think this is just another argument for activity friendships, or scheduling your time with friends around activities. Yes, you can catch up while you go for a run, but also you're going for a run. And yes, you can catch up while you're playing pickleball, but you also can make new friends while you're playing. I don't know. Do an activity.
I don't want boring information trading friendship to be the only, to be the main thing that we devote energy to. So I thought that was worthy of discussion.
Yes. And you can run an errand and catch up. Like we talked about this, Rachel, like just running an errand together, like going to Target. How lovely.
Better with friends.
Yeah. Everything except sleeping. What's one activity you'd like to do? I want to know though, what activity you'd like to do with a friend?
Oh, I love a walk and talk because I love walking. And it feels like you're getting in your steps and you're getting in movement. But conversation, I think, flows really well when you're in motion. If somebody said, do you want to run and talk? I'd be like, absolutely not. That sounds horrific. But if you want to briskly walk towards the lake, yes.
Yeah. And you can
feel like this is a fitness class.
I do like a fitness class. I think I like a hike. I like a fitness class. I like learning a new thing. I think that's really fun. I'm trying to figure out where I can learn to knit. So why not pick up a grandma hobby?
Oh, well, I'm going to put you in touch with my niece, Lily, who has become an excellent crocheter at the age of 11. Yes.
Great. Okay, Lily will be my friend.
Okay, tell me yours.
Okay, so mine is Brene Brown's marble jar theory. It is first it's a video. I'll link to it in the show notes, but it's something I study or I stumbled on. And it has to do with trust. But it was specifically how she taught her young daughter. I think her daughter at the time was preteen teen, like 11 to 13. And she was dealing with like having shared something secret with a classmate and that person shared it with everybody. And she found her daughter just like crumpled in a ball, like crying, saying, how can I trust anybody ever again, essentially. And so she fought the urge to say, like, just don't let mommy take care of you. And she said, here's how you know how to trust someone. Every time you trust someone with a secret or with something that feels very personal to you and they don't share it, it is a jar or it is a marble in a jar. And as you build up those marbles over time, you fill up that jar. And that's how we learn to trust someone, is by slowly gaining that sort of language and trust. But I think the opposite can also be said, because when someone breaks your trust, that jar empties out. So I think it's an interesting way to think about trust, especially for people who wear their hearts on their sleeve, who share things early and often and could get their hearts broken, especially when you're in your youth.
I think that's a really beautiful visual representation of what trust looks like. And the hard thing about trust is you build it one marble at a time.
Yeah.
But somebody breaking your trust means the jar could suddenly plummet down to the very beginning all over again. It's not a one-to-one.
It's not a one-to-one. Yeah. I think there are certain breaches of trust where it was like, oh, I thought, like a miscommunication where you could talk it through and maybe the jar is not emptied. But very often when someone breaks your trust, like you're starting over. The jar is empty. Maybe you don't trust them at all. Maybe you only trust them with like a tester secret. Like,
I think I'm going to borrow this. And Brene, who we both adore so much, and I love that I got to tell her this in person because it was so meaningful. But do you remember her candle theory with friendship?
Share it.
Okay, so I think she also uses with her daughter at a younger age, is that imagine you are a candle, a lit candle. You want the kinds of friends that will protect your flame, not the kind of friends who want to blow it out. So she had some really cute language around it, but like candle protectors are your people and candle blower outers are the ones to avoid.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it's so true.
That's such a hard lesson in friendship when you're younger, because you're just sort of looking to belong in groupthink. I think it's different in some ways now with kids, but I think groupthink can kind of be like it's easy for people to get swept up in like, you're different, we're going to make fun of it. Or you've got this thing going on, we're going to make fun of it.
Yeah, and I think candle blowing out can sometimes look like just like lots of little negative comments or like, I said this thing, but I'm joking, or no offense.
Yeah.
And then I say the thing that's offensive. Like it's not necessarily as clear as I'm saying something rude and I'm owning it and you're responding to it. I think sort of the subversive forms of being a little bit mean in teenage years are the hardest. Because you're like, am I crazy? This didn't feel right. But they said they're kidding, or they said no offense, or they smiled afterwards.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of nuance. So I think the marble and the candle. Thank you, Brene.
Yeah. Thank you,
really
Brene.
good lesson.
No offense. It's tough. Like, just don't say it. Just don't say it. If we could teach that across all humans, if the thing you're about to say has to be preceded by no offense, just do not utter it. Do not say the words.
Honestly, there's a book I love called All I Ever Need to Know, or it's something like All I Ever Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. It came out when we were kids, and it was like the lessons of life distilled through a kindergartner's eyes, and it was a really good book. Nice. But now I'm thinking all we need to know you can learn in middle school, because it is ripe with conflict and hard moments and a lot of terrain. And so I feel like I'm reliving it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing I hear about parents. Well, Rachel, this has been another episode of The Connection Code, a podcast about friends, connections, work, and everything in between. This is a production of two friends, Rachel Gillman Rischall and me, Jeana Anderson Cohen. And you can follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn by using our full names. We'd love to hear from you, by the way. So if you have questions, comments, you want to be on the show, you have a recommendation, like, say it to us. We love to hear it. Thanks to Ben Cleaver for
people
editing.
Have been sending ideas. Ooh. I just got an idea for a guest today. So send ideas, subscribe, rate, do all the things.
And maybe you could provide us with a show and tell. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, Ben.
Hi, I'm Shira.